What's up guys, Gabriel Varga here. Today we're going to be looking at two different fight styles. Muay Thai from Thailand obviously, and kickboxing from Holland. Now I don't want to do a comparison about just straight up which one's better, which one's worse. What I want to do is I want to look at the strengths of each style and show you if you combine together some Muay Thai elements, some kickboxing elements, how it's going to make you the best fighter you can be, the strongest fighter you are capable of being. And to do that, we are going to have 5 comparisons. We're going to be looking at 5 different areas where we can compare something that the Thais do versus what the guys from Holland do, and which one is better and which sort of style you should adapt in that specific area. This is what I've done my whole fight career. It's what's helped me win all those belts behind me. So stick around guys, because this episode is definitely going to help you become a better fighter. Alright guys, far too often I think people get too attached to the idea that I'm a Muay Thai fighter, I'm doing everything Muay Thai style, or I'm a Dutch kickboxer, I'm doing everything the way they do it, or I'm this style or that style. Why can't we just take pieces of this style and this style and this style and this style, incorporate them into one, and become the best fighter you're capable of being? Because if somebody tells you that Muay Thai is the strongest fight sport, no questions asked, that's just naive thinking, in my opinion. There are elements of Dutch style kickboxing which are stronger than Muay Thai fighting. But that's easily reversed because there are so many amazing things from the Muay Thai style which will dominate the Dutch style. So I'm not doing a comparison about which one's better, because a lot of times that just comes down to the actual athlete. Which athlete is more skilled? So if you put up a kickboxer against a Muay Thai fighter and the kickboxer wins, you can't say kickboxing is better. You can only say that athlete was better. Now we're going to look at 5 points. I could go much more in depth. I could probably spend, an hour talking about this, but I need to limit the time. So we're only doing 5 points, and we're going to do a comparison between certain elements of fighting which are very important and how these two styles compare to one another. So let's get this started guys by talking about hand defense. This is something that I think is the most important thing you need to know if you are entering your first fight. You need to know how to defend punches. If somebody runs out and they just start launching 10, 15 punches at you and you have no real defense aside from footwork, but no ability to get your hands up and shell or do whatever you're going to do, which doesn't require you running, you do not have a defense. You will not last very long. So let's look between Muay Thai and kickboxing, which guys have the best hand defense. Now I've talked about this many times on the channel. If I'm fighting a Muay Thai stylist, what do? I push the hand pressure on them. Why do I do this? Because it is so much easier to land a clean shot on somebody who has their hands out here or out here than it is on somebody who's crushed in here. There are definitely disadvantages to having your hands locked to your head, for sure, 100%. It's not a perfect system. But if you're just looking at overall defense, avoiding the knockout, I think this position here is much stronger. So many Dutch fighters, Andy Sauer, Albert Kraus, so many of those guys who train out of Holland just have this defense down so well, and you don't often see them take massive, massive shots. Definitely off the gloves. They take a lot of shots off the gloves, but they're able to protect their head for the most part. I feel like as a Muay Thai fighter, as the hands start to come out a little bit more because you're looking for clinch or you're looking to block elbows or whatever the reasoning is, the hand defense is a little bit more open for shots to land. We've seen that so many times. That's why I talk about letting the uppercuts go on the long guard. There's an opening there. When we're out here, the big wide hooks are there. It is also very difficult when somebody's throwing multiple shots at you to block them all if your hands are out here, because you have to pick away. You have to actively be engaged on each shot and be able to actually block it. Whereas the tight guard, you can just let the shots ricochet off the forearms. It is much safer in my opinion. So for point number 1, when we're talking about hand defense, if I had to go, I want a Muay Thai style from Thailand or the Dutch style from Holland, I'm going to take the Dutch style, which gives Holland 1 point. Now next I want to move on to kicking defense. It's obviously the next thing in line. When we're defending kicks, who has the better defense in that department? Now let's talk first about the Dutch style blocking. A lot of times when kicks come, the Dutch fighters will simply take the low kicks. That's very common to give a punch. They will check occasionally, and that is pretty much the extent of the lower blocking. When the kicks come, it's either hollow out and scoop, elbow block the front kicks. If they're coming to the side, I do my cross block. These are all very safe ways to deal with kicks, but your arms get a little bit battered and you are reliant on basically taking the kick and giving a shot back and hoping it dissuades your opponent from throwing it more and more and more. Whereas for the Muay Thai style, it's all about either blocking and returning the kick very quickly so you're getting that exact exchange, or even better in my opinion, catching kicks and putting people on their back. Now, unfortunately, because I'm a kickboxer, I can't get away with the sweeps too much, but I do try to throw 1 or 2 into each fight. I feel it is a much more dominant way to deal with kicks. The defense is higher level. The consequences of somebody throwing a kick at you are that much more severe. And this is an easy one for me, easy answer. If I had to choose which leg defense is more effective, Holland or Thailand, I would 100% say that Thai style gets the nod for me. Which brings us to 1 point apiece. And if you are trying to adapt and evolve your defense, you want to incorporate, in my opinion, those 2 together. Why can't you do it? It's 100% doable. It's super easy. I've done it. Your hands are up. You're blocking the punches. If you need to block the kick like that, you can. But even better, if you're blocking punches and you see the kick coming, you wrap it up and you sweep people and you put them down. Moving into point number 3, I want to talk about range control. If we have somebody, let's say, who's way out there and I'm trying to keep them at distance, this is very important to defeat pressure fighters, is being able to maintain range control the pace of the fight. So instead of me being in this shell here where it's very hard to stop somebody from coming at me, if I'm out here and I'm at this distance, range control is so much easier. And just for that reason, the fact that the Thais are throwing the kicks, they're blasting and then coming right back, they're not using their hands as much, that obviously makes Thailand's Muay Thai style much more efficient at range control. The Dutch style is just right in here, just right in there, hands are up, you're exchanging on combinations. I love the style, don't get me wrong, I think it's very effective, but if you are somebody who wants range control, it's worth noting that it might be a good idea to get used to that sort of style and getting the front kicks going, using the jab to tap, taking those little steps, throwing the counter round kicks. The Muay Thai style in general is just going to be so much better at that long range. They generally fight at that nice long kicking range or fall very tight to the clinch. The Dutch style kickboxing from Holland is right in that middle ground, kind of where you're just banging away at that punch range. The low kicks land really nice. If you want to create some distance, you have to move your feet. Whereas the Thai style is just more at maintaining range, and you can get your effective long shots off and then close the gap quickly if you need to. So for me, if I'm looking at range control, if I'm going, I want to maintain a good range from somebody, I'm going to try and implement a little bit more of that Muay Thai style to keep them away. Guys, before we move on to the next point, if you're enjoying the video, give it a like. If you have not already, get subscribed, help the channel out, help us grow. If you're finding the video interesting, share it with somebody else. That's always greatly appreciated. And let's move on. Now I want to talk about combinations, because combinations are a big key to winning fights. Some people get away with, single shots, but you have to be so elite to be able to pull that off. It is very easy. Very, very easy for many fighters. If you stand in front of them, throw one shot at them, they block it. Throw another shot, they block it. Throw something, they catch it. That's not overly difficult for a lot of people. What is difficult is dealing with multiple shots. I'm going, uh-oh, 2 shots up high, one down low, one to the body, back to the head. The combination work of flowing together, changing heights, changing angles, makes you a very, very dangerous, aggressive fighter. When I think of a Muay Thai style, I think generally people keeping to the basics, throwing kind of a single shot again, maybe something down the middle, maybe to the other side. Not a whole lot of changing and fast-paced directional angles. But when I think of the Dutch style, I'm thinking more one shot here, one shot there, one shot there, one shot there, coming back up, chopping down low. I think personally that the combos that are strung together are much more advanced in the Dutch style. Now that's not to say it makes all the Dutch kickboxers more effective in combo work, because we have some people who are spectacular at throwing multiple round kicks, falling to a knee, pushing away, chopping the leg. Somebody like Buakaw is so good at stringing combos together. But again, we're talking about the really elite athletes. I'm just looking at the general overall picture. Sort of like the guys I've fought. Do I have more trouble defending against a Thai fighter or defending against a kickboxer? I find the kickboxing style much more difficult to defend because, like I said, the height changes, the angle changes, and the pace at which shots arrive. There's no gap between them. They come. Whereas for the Muay Thai style, it's more kick, punch, kick. And everything has a little more power, a little more force behind it, but it's easier, personally for me, to deal with either catching or blocking and getting counters off in between. So in terms of this discussion, that to me is another point for Holland, which brings us to 2-2. And finally, I want to talk about the tight range fighting, that very tight range fighting, which is very essential if you're dealing with somebody who is beating you at the normal length we normally fight at. You know, if somebody's right here and we're throwing the punches and they're beating me, and I back up that little step more and I'm trying to get the kicks off on them and they're beating me, what is left? All that's left is get really tight, fall to the clinch, and having a really tight game is very important. I like personally a lot of times to get my opponent right up against the ring, just smother them there and start banging away. That's a very good, effective, tight fighting, but it's not something that everybody feels comfortable with. Most people are very comfortable with a tight clinch game, closing that distance, fighting from in tight, controlling the arms so you're not worried about taking any punches or elbows, and then from there playing that knee battle until you can get your sweep off. Now again, this is just my opinion. Because I like fighting tight, I'm going to be preferential to just pressuring people, but I recognize the importance of the clinch versus in tight boxing where it's dangerous. So if we're talking about in tight fighting and I have to pick a style which is going to be safer, more effective, I have to go with clinching, which gives 3 points to Thailand in this Thailand versus Holland conversation we're having today. Again, by no means am I saying that one style is better than the other. I'm just saying for the points I picked today, I have it 3-2 for Thailand and Muay Thai. But this again is not a massive breakdown. It's just a little quick conversation. And hopefully what you guys will do from here is you will start taking pieces from different martial arts styles and incorporating them into your own unique style that suits you. And that is when you find your own style and you become the most dangerous version of yourself. I really believe, guys, that one of the reasons I was able to get all these belts behind me is I've been willing and interested in traveling to different countries, training with different people, and taking pieces from their style. I went to Thailand, I learned how to clinch so I could throw people around. I've learned the Dutch style so I have that nice defense and I can string the combos together, get those fast counters off. Somebody hits me, I can come right back really quick. I have my karate style so I can get the fancy kicks off. Obviously, I really like boxing. I like to focus in on boxing just so I can have those sharp, sharp hands. If you guys found this interesting today, you want to have more conversations on topics like this, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't, guys, get subscribed, train hard, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.